比特币将价值1500万美元，你们相信吗？这不是我说的，这是 Michael Saylor 说的。各位朋友们，大家好，欢迎来到我的频道比特币公牛，我叫大卫。今天我就想跟你们讨论，为什么 MicroStrategy 公司的老板 Michael Saylor 就说比特币会上涨，涨到1500万美元一个。那 MicroStrategy 公司是一个美国的股票公司，他们做商业智能，还有软件，还有一些基于云的服务。那他们最近就出名了，因为他们的老板 Michael Saylor 他买了特别多的比特币。我们来看一下，那他们总共买了38250个 Bitcoin， 所以呢，他肯定有他自己的原因，他为什么投资这么多钱到比特币？那今天呢，我们就要看一个对话，在这个对话里面，他就会解释他为什么买了这么多比特币，还有他为什么会觉得比特币会继续上涨，涨到这么高的一个价格。如果你们持有比特币，你们一定要看完这个视频，因为看完这个视频之后，你们就知道为什么比特币会继续上涨。那这个对话是我自己来翻译的，所以有可能会有些小错误，但是我估计你们都很聪明，所以你们都能看得懂吧。那好了，现在就开始了吧。
I think that demonetizing gold gets you to 500,000, and that's simply pulling all the monetary energy off of the gold rock from gold bugs who believe that gold is a store of value and a safe haven. But it's important to note there are a lot of organizations and a lot of investors that don't use gold as their safe haven. They use government debt, sovereign debt. And so cash is a safe haven, and sovereign debt is a safe haven. And another safe haven people use as a store of value is an index fund, bond index funds and stock index funds, like the Russell 2000, the S&P 500, the Dow index. So all told, I think there's between $300 and $400 trillion worth of fiat instruments, cash, debt, stock, commercial real estate indexes, something in that range. They're all, if you look at all of that, half of that monetary energy, maybe more, between 50 and 75%, is simply seeking a store of value as a container. Like when I buy the S&P 500 index or the Vanguard fund, I'm not buying it because I equally love all 500 S&P stocks equally in proportion to their market caps. That's not why I bought the index. I bought the index because I had $1 million and I knew if it was cash, it would be debased in purchasing power. And so I needed to put it into something which was going to return more than the economic hurdle rate or the cost of capital. So some people choose to preserve their wealth by investing in gold. Some people choose to preserve their wealth by buying land, a land bank. I'm just going to buy a bunch of farmland. I don't love it. I just bought it. Some people choose to preserve their wealth by buying debt. There's like $100 trillion worth of sovereign debt, right? 10-year treasuries, 30-year treasuries, 3-year, 1-year treasuries. There's like $17 trillion worth of debt that's negative yielding. I think the last number I saw. Why would you buy a bond that you have to pay to own? Right? Isn't the obvious answer? It's a safe haven. Right? I don't want to bury the cash. I don't want to hold cash. I don't want to bury the cash under my mattress. I don't want to hold metal. And so I'll buy a bond until I figure out what to do. So ultimately, the amount of monetary energy in the world that's looking for a safe haven store of value is got to be between 100 trillion and 250 trillion. Like, why not all of it? Like, why not 300 trillion or 350 trillion? If whatever the total sum of everything. Well, the answer is, at the right price, I would own a stock because I believe in the stock. Like, for example, Tesla. If you bought Tesla at the beginning of the year, it went up by a factor of 5. And if you love Tesla and if you believe it's a growth stock, then you invest. You're making an investment decision. I might make an investment decision in a stock that I thought was going to grow faster than the cost of capital. If you believe that a stock can grow its revenues and its cash flows more than 20% a year, you should probably own the stock, right? If the stock is going to outperform the cost of capital. If you came to me and you asked for a loan and you were going to erect a hospital, and I lived in the city and I had kids and we needed a hospital and I was a wealthy person, I would give you the loan. I would buy the bond so that you could build a hospital so that my family doesn't die if they need the hospital. So sometimes creditors would issue credit because they have a passionate belief in the project. And equity investors would invest because they have a passionate belief. That's investment, and that's true crediting. I mean, credit and equity investments. And the same is true with real estate, right? I might buy real estate to live in. I love it. Or buy a commercial office building to put my company in, or a factory. On the other hand, when I'm buying the index of 187 companies I never heard of that yields me 2% or 3%, I'm just looking for a store of value. So that's a long-winded answer to the question, which is, is Bitcoin worth more than the value of gold? And the answer is, yeah, in theory, all monetary energy that's simply looking for a store of value safe haven index should presumably drain out of real estate, cash, stocks, and bonds into the Bitcoin network. And as that happens, the price discovery will return to real estate and bond, right? A real bond should not pay you 0% interest, right? A real bond should not charge you money to own it, right? That's offensive. So the bond values will fall. The equity values will fall. The real estate values will fall. The yields, the dividend yields, the rent yields, the bond coupon yields, they will go up until a rational actor would choose to own those as an investment, or a person that's a passionate investor will own them because they're trophy assets that they simply wish to own to say they own them for their own personal purposes. And the rest of the monetary energy really ought to be in a Bitcoin network because it's a pure index of the economy without counterparty risk, without execution risk, without credit risk, without debasement and political risk, without the tax risk, et cetera, and the political risk. That's why that makes sense. And that means that the top is more than 100 trillion. It's somewhere between 100 trillion and 300 trillion in today's money. And of course, if we look out 5 or 10 years, there may be 700 trillion in today's money then. So if half of the monetary energy sits in a store of value index, then it could be 300 or 400 trillion dollars. So maybe it would be half or a third of today's purchasing power, or we don't know how that's going to adjust. So it'll be less purchasing power, but nominally more. You're kind of talking about, remember the Vanguard 500 fund or the S&P index? You're kind of talking about creating a cyber index of the entire world global economy on the blockchain, on the Bitcoin network. And what it does is it returns price discovery and rationality to every part of the world that it touches, and it will create a check and balance on unmitigated money printing, and it gives people an option, right? It gives optionality to individuals. if I live in a country on a ranch or I have money in a country and the country is printing the currency to drive it to zero and I don't have an option to store my value, I'm going to lose everything. But if I can swap my value into Bitcoin, then I'm going to preserve some of my monetary energy. And at some point, perhaps the central bank will say, I guess probably we should stop printing so much money because all of the money is flowing out of our currency into this other store of value. And that creates a check and a balance and hopefully some goodness, some virtue in the world, a good thing.
这太不可思议了，是不是？这真的完全超乎我的意料。如果这能实现，我们将来才会知道。还有他肯定有个优秀的顾问去帮助他，但是我个人觉得这些人很聪明，因为这是聪明的钱，这不是我们小小的投资者，这就是巨大的机构、巨大的公司来投资，所以他们肯定知道他们在做什么。所以我觉得比特币的未来非常有前途，你们觉得呢？那这就是一个公司。你们想象一下，如果更多的公司去买比特币会发生什么？那比特币能不能达到1500万美元？那这也说不清楚。但是你们也要考虑一下，如果真的达到这样的价格，那1500万美元的购买力也不是那么强，那购买力会下降。那你们怎么看这件事情？那你们就在下面给我留个言，跟我说一下，你们觉得比特币会上涨到1500万美元，还是不会涨得那么厉害？还有，如果你们喜欢这个视频，你们一定要点个赞，我花了特别多的时间来翻译这个对话。那如果你们喜欢的话，你们一定要点个赞，还有来关注一下这个频道。非常感谢你们的观看，我希望你们都喜欢这个视频。还有，我想分享更多这样的比特币看涨视频。好嘞，就拍到这里了，希望我们在下一个视频再见。